Welcome, three guys, one mic here with you, crossover report. Going to talk a little bit, obviously, yesterday, the big game ending the NFL season. Super Bowl 50 is over, and Denver has won it 24-10 over the Carolina Panthers. An interesting game, to say the least, yesterday. We're going to give our thoughts on what we thought of yesterday's game, and then just a little bit more insight here today. As always, Paul Lamb, Nick Damiani, as we bring in our football analyst on the Gridiron Report, Mike Millsaps, myself, Neil Doyle. So yesterday, 24-10, Denver took it over Carolina. A bit of a sloppy game that we haven't really seen Carolina play all season. Really got dominated, and got to give credit to that Denver defense, who we all knew was the best defense in the league all season. And it was going to be the question of, could they contain Cam and this potent offense of the Panthers? And they showed yesterday that they could do it, and that's what really won them the game yesterday. Cam struggled throughout the game, had an interception, two big fumbles, was only 18 for 41 passing the ball. So Denver just really interrupted what Carolina had done all season long. And then I don't know. I mean, obviously, I think you got to give Denver's defense the credit, but in your guys' mind, was it more the defense of Denver that really just disrupted this Panthers offense, or was it just probably Cam's worst game of the year? I don't know. Let's start with you, Millzy. What were your thoughts of yesterday's game?
I think it was a little bit of both, but I definitely give the edge to the Broncos defense. When they stopped Tom Brady, a lot of people thought it was, he didn't have enough weapons and things like that. But I think we finally got to appreciate just how good this Denver defense is. It was on pace to be defense statistically with the 03 Ravens and the 85 Bears. And, that's two of the greatest defense of all time. So I think, this really just points out that defense does win championships. And, it just rattled Cam. And he was seeing ghosts much in the way that Tom Brady was seeing ghosts in the first half of that last game.
Paul, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think that defensive line for the Broncos with Von Miller and DeMarcus Ware was probably put together one of the best defensive line performances we've seen throughout the playoffs. But I don't want to take everything off of Cam and the Panthers. We were talking about it in the pre-show that Ted Ginn and Jericho Cotchery couldn't catch cold yesterday. And I think Cam, he just wasn't – don't even give me that face, Millzy. I think Cam just wasn't prepared. That's the hard thing about football, if you read my article today, compared to basketball or baseball or hockey, is that in the championship, you don't get a game 2, a game 3, a game 4 like you do in those other sports. So you look at a guy like Steph Curry, he struggled in game 1 of the NBA Finals a little bit last year, but he could bounce back. He can have a good game 2, still win the series. In the NFL, you can't afford to not show up, not be ready, even if it's just for a quarter, for a half. I think Cam is still maybe a year away from being fully ready, but he gets Kelvin Benjamin back next year. I wouldn't be surprised to see him back in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I don't think Cam even played that bad, to be honest. I mean, I think the Broncos just really disrupted him. He had nowhere to go almost every play, it seemed like. The interception he threw was like somebody dropped it, right? He got tipped up in the air, some bullcrap, whatever like that. And then he got sacked. How many times did he get knocked down this game? He had nowhere to run. I mean, I think we were talking about that the last show. We talked about the pregame. It might have been Paul who said they do a really good job of containing Cam. Like, he would try to get outside the pocket, but, Von Miller, way too quick on the outside. He really couldn't do anything. It's not that he played bad. There was nothing for him to do. That's why I got to give all my credit to the Denver defense. And, this is a game that you could have predicted. Me and Doyle were talking about earlier. Denver's defense setting up their offense for simple scores, just like what they do. They score the touchdown. They strip Cam. They score the touchdown. Then I think they made Tolbert fumble, and they got a field goal out of that maybe. And then Caldwell had a big punt return at some point. So, I mean, Denver's offense didn't really do anything here that was special or anything like that. Everything was really set up by Denver's defense.
Well, as you said, I think the main difference was, as you said, as Nick said, the predictions. It was either going to be a game where Carolina was going to outscore Denver's defense, and Denver, we knew their offense wasn't going to put up many points, or it was going to be a game where Denver's defense was going to dominate and be able to slow down this Panthers team, and that's the game that it was. So I think in my mind, and all of us were wrong in our predictions, the Panthers in our pregame show, or our last video where we did a pregame special of the game. We were all wrong, so all of us 0 for 4 in that mark. But it was a game that you could have predicted, and I think it was a game that a lot of people were going more on the Panthers side of the prediction of them Their offense had just been so strong in the playoffs. They seemed like they weren't going to be stopped even going up against the number one defense. But Denver really came out yesterday and showed they weren't afraid of Carolina. That 2 weeks to prepare. I think you got to give a lot of credit to defensive coordinator Wade Phillips. Really had this defense ready, and they played like that all season long. And Peyton stuck with the game plan, knew that he has the best defense that he's probably ever played for before. And, at the end of that game, you knew they were going to run the ball every time those last few possessions. And got to give Peyton his credit. He stuck to the game plan, and you got to give a lot more credit to that Denver defense. Peyton now winning his second Super Bowl. Does that then, do you think, maybe change what happens with Peyton Manning and his career? Is he done now in your guys' mind, or does he maybe try to go out another year? I don't know, Nick. What are you thinking?
I thought he was going to be done either way, and I think yesterday he said he didn't want to make an emotional decision. He wanted to go drink Budweiser and all that crap. But Peyton Manning's got to be done. I think it's better for everybody involved, for the Broncos, because you saw what he did out there this year. Granted they won a Super Bowl. I don't know how much you can rely on a defense any more than that. I think he just gave them enough to win. But I don't know in the years to come if that's going to be enough. I think you need to let Brock Osweiler get in there. He didn't play bad this year. I think he could hold it down with that defense there. And I just think Peyton's got nothing left. This is the perfect way for him to go out. They're talking about Tony Dungy and Marvin Harrison get inducted in the Hall of Fame the same weekend Peyton Manning wins his Super Bowl. It would just be the perfect way to end a career, I think. You don't want to be remembered for the guy who just gets benched halfway through next year, and then he retires after next year. Then you're going to retire like that after you can retire Super Bowl champion. I don't see any better way for him to go out than after this.
Mills?
Yeah, no, he's definitely done. There's not a chance that he should even. I don't think he should have even played the Super Bowl. When you have 4 turnovers and you only throw for 173 yards and you still throw a pick and you have no touchdowns, that pretty much sums it all up. He had no offense. He had, 2 good throws to Sanders. Really, he's just washed up. He's lucky he even won that Super Bowl because the defense just carried him. If he comes back, then, someone is giving him some extra HGH because he can't do it right now.
All right. A couple things. First off, there's definitely a chance that he's going to come back because the Rams want him. Second off, I don't know how you can say, don't say that word, Nick. I don't know how you can say that he shouldn't have played the Super Bowl because he won the Super Bowl. So obviously he played good enough. Even if he didn't play good.
Rex Grossman could have won that Super Bowl. Are you kidding? Did you see that defense?
That's debatable. Debatable.
Rex Grossman was absolute just garbage, man. Don't even put
Grossman would audible out of the run plays and try to make a deep pass play and just pick that shit.
Would have worked better.
That's why he couldn't win the Super Bowl.
I don't know. It's tough. With how good that defense was, I think all the credit really has to go to them. I think you give Peyton the credit of he stuck with the game plan and, knew that it wasn't going to be his arm anymore to be making plays on the offensive side of the football. It was going to be running the ball, not turning it over, and that was a big thing people talked about. Denver only had 2 turnovers, but, the 4 Carolina Panthers turnovers are really what changed the difference in the game. And Peyton stuck to the game plan, got his second Super Bowl, probably helps his legacy a little bit more now. He's 2-2 in Super Bowl games, so it'll be interesting to see if he decides to stay or not. But Denver, your Super Bowl champs, as we said, 24-10. They won it yesterday over Carolina. Crossover Report, we have our Gridiron Report reporter, Mike Millsaps, our analyst on the football side of things here at Crossover Report. Another thing I think we should talk about, I don't know if any of you, the commercials yesterday, obviously that's always big come Super Bowl. Were there anything that stuck out to you? My one class today, actually, I had a class today that the teacher says every class after the Super Bowl he does commercials. He somehow finds a way to work it into the class, and we usually watch them. He did not show any today. He said this is the first time in 10 years that he didn't show any Super Bowl commercials in a class because he thought they were all terrible. He didn't see one that he thought was even noteworthy of showing. I didn't really see too many that I liked. Were there any that stuck out to you in your mind that you guys enjoyed? Holly?
I don't think Millzy or Nick are going to agree with me, but I like the Super Bowl Babies one. I thought that was cute, topical, funny, and it had Seal in it, some good music too. I thought the Prius commercial was extremely overrated. I thought the Puppy Monkey Baby commercial was overrated. I thought Doritos dropped the ball. I thought Budweiser dropped the ball. it was a down year for commercials. A lot of constipation commercials, a lot of just factual commercials. Just here's our product, it's a good product, and that was it. No creativity.
No, I thought Doritos was all right. I think they dropped the ball because they've been so good in the past that it wasn't up to their standards, you know. And then the only reason that baby one is even considered good this year was because everything was so bad. But I think you guys are overlooking the sheep one, where the sheep are singing in the open field when the car comes in.
No, that's not. That's nothing.
I love to hear animals singing and stuff like that.
That's not original. We've seen animals singing stuff a million times on TV, a million times in commercials.
You've seen sheep singing that tone?
I think they made a movie with sheep singing. I think it's called Sheeps.
Mills, any
commercials
commercials you
I don't believe that at all.
Yeah. The Doritos one was the best one by far.
Debatable.
Where she's getting the ultrasound and he holds it over and then the baby shoots out. That was hilarious. And then I forgot which car commercial it was, but the one with the bears where he talks about his diet was pretty funny. I thought that was an underrated one. I actually thought it was a decent year for commercials. I mean,
it was awful.
I didn't think it was, star-studded, but I remember this one more than the past, 4 years. I never really liked it.
Yesterday.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
Budweiser was phenomenal the last 3 years, I thought, and then this year.
The Budweiser one with the puppy and the.
Yeah. Oh God.
Budweiser must have gone off. Budweiser might not have done a good commercial because they knew that. But you're taking your chances. You knew if Peyton was going to win, he was going to shout you out twice that he's going to be drinking Budweiser. That was all. That was all promotional right there.
Because Peyton's going to the Rams, who used to be in St. Louis, where Budweiser is.
There you go. There you go. Paulie's thinking ahead.
Not anymore. Everybody leaves St. Louis. That's a known fact.
Yeah, Paulie, we got to get you out of there, man.
Is that right?
It was an interesting Super Bowl to say the least. I think maybe not one of the most. I don't want to say entertaining, but, compared to last year's Super Bowl in thrilling fashion, it was a game that people predicted it was either going to be more of a Carolina blowout or a game like this defensively where Denver was going to be able to pull it out, and that's what it was. A good game to say the least. You got to give Denver their credit. 24-10, they won it. I don't know, any more final thoughts? Ending the football season, but as you know, football is always right around the corner. Crossover Report, Gridiron Report here, going to have, I know just last week was signing day, so a lot of college stuff going on. There's always football stuff going on throughout the year, but any final thoughts before we end the video today?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about the Cam Newton walk away from the press conference.
Yeah.
I think that's also goes in hand with why he lost the game, is because he was too immature and he gets frustrated too quickly, and he lets his attitude get to him. And I think by just walking off, that just kind of shows he still needs to grow a lot to become a Super Bowl champion, let alone, just a role model for everybody. Not saying that he's not a role model, but to be, the best role model. You can't walk off like that. You got to take your L's.
Yeah, I agree completely with that. I saw somebody was saying that give the guy a break. He just lost a huge game. I was like, that's part of his job. Like, you get to enjoy your winning, you get to dab, and you get to folk and all that. But then when you lose, you have to stay up on the podium and answer the questions and give your credit to the other team like you're supposed to do.
Right.
I mean, I'd have been fine if he just stood up there and kept giving those one-word answers. I mean, I know a lot of people wouldn't like that, but at least stay up there, man. Come on.
Yeah.
It's tough. I mean, it's a tough situation to lose such a high magnitude of a game like that. And granted, it's his first ever Super Bowl. None of us, it's like when you say act like you've been there before. None of us have ever been there before, so none of us know what it's like. It's his first time.
No.
So, I mean,
but
yeah,
beyond standard,
it's a learning.
That's part of the territory. It comes with being the best player in the NFL. It comes with it. You got to be able to handle yourself.
I think you learn from that. I think he's going to look back from yesterday's press conference and learn that that's not the thing he needs to do. And he grew up so much. He's been growing up over the last 5 years so much, and he's still a young player. He's going to keep growing, and I think for sure we're going to see him in another Super Bowl or two before his career's over. But that was something interesting, to talk about for sure, Mills, the press conference walk away. But regardless, Denver ends
He's probably going to say messed up.
Well, we'll see. We'll have that covered for you. Obviously, we'll have that covered for you here on Gridiron Report if what comes out of the Cam Newton press conference. But Super Bowl 50 in the books. Denver takes it 24-10, ending the NFL season. I think that's going to do it for us here in this video. As always, you can always follow us on Twitter at Crossover Report. You can follow our football Twitter at Gridiron Report at NFL_CR. Follow our new baseball account at Walkover Report. Like us on Facebook. And you can subscribe to us right here on our YouTube page as you watch this video. So you can help us out by subscribing. That's going to do it for us here today in this video. As always, Paul Lamb, Nick Damiani, our very own Mike Millsaps. I'm Neil Doyle. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.